VocalEye Almost Live Zoom, Literary Cabaret, hosted by Amantea, with special guest Sarah Wang.
Welcome to this VocalEye Almost Live event. My name is Amantea, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the Associate Director for VocalEye. I'm the host for these Almost Live events, and I'm a member of the blind community. And it's my privilege to do this work, to spend Wednesday after Wednesday with you all in this space. So thank you so much to all of you who have made contributions and sent in testimonials. It's a real gift to read those. If you ever feel like you have contribution to make a donation, there's a link that will be posted in the chat. It's always in our newsletters and in our follow-up emails. We may have friends and family that want to support the things that we do in the arts. So all of those contributions are what make this program available to us all, and we so value spending all this time with you all. So thank you for everything that you do for VocalEye. If you happen to be watching this particular event this evening on our YouTube channel, we hope that you hit the like and subscribe button. VocalEye is broadcasting to you all from the traditional and stolen lands of the Coast Salish peoples, in particular the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And tonight, as we are about to witness the literary cabaret together, it kind of prompted me to do some research about how perhaps Indigenous peoples might have traditionally shared stories. So I'll share with you a little bit about what I learned. That Indigenous cultures share stories and have shared stories for many years, since time immemorial, and in many ways. So often orally, through oral traditions, so spoken word from generation to generation, person to person, in song, in drumming, in pictographs, like drawings and pictographs, and through medicine wheels and teepee rings. And then traditionally, amongst many nations, these stories that were told by elders who were known as knowledge keepers. But there were also a few community members who had earned the privilege to have the title of storyteller. So they were also privileged to share and tell stories. And I thought that that was a really nice piece of sort of historical storytelling, as we learn more and more about this land that we may be settled on, and the Indigenous peoples that have stewarded this land since time immemorial, that there's a rich history of oral traditions and storytelling traditions. So I wanted to acknowledge and share some of that with you in this space this evening. So welcome back. It's Wednesday, March the 15th, 2023. Tonight, we're proud to offer you our almost live event number 113. This one tonight is the Literary Cabaret from the Vancouver Writers Festival. So with us, our special guest tonight is our own friend, VocalEye's own Sarah. Sarah, welcome to the space.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much. Great to be on this side.
I know Sarah's usually in the background helping do all the muting and unmuting and all the tech magic that happens in the background that nobody ever sees. Although I will say, Sarah, that there's a couple of folks who have emailed me who said, what goes on in the background? What is the role of all of these folks? Can we find out how this works? So who knows? We might be maybe putting something together that'll highlight what we all do behind the scenes.
Oh,
I digress.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to say that we have Lindsay tonight who's doing the background work. So I'm really excited to be under her wings. So
yeah, we are doing a little I don't know, switching hats around, because our lovely Donna will be going off to Shaw to perform on stages for like 8 months. So
wow.
She'll probably pop in, maybe in and out a little bit, perhaps, with the time difference and all the work an actor goes through. But we're in good hands with our VocalEye team. So I feel good about it. So Sarah, you're wearing your Vancouver Writers Fest hat tonight.
Yes.
What is the Vancouver Writers Fest?
Well, thank you so much, first of all, Amy and VocalEye, for having me. And yeah, I'm really glad to be able to share tonight's event with you all. So yeah, so On my other job, I do work for the Vancouver Writers Fest, and it is a literary arts organization that produces year-round events. But we do have obviously the flagship festival every year. It's in the third week of October. And year-round programming, we have things like the Insights series. It brings authors to speak on their new books every other Wednesday from January to May / early June-ish. That's an event that we host with the Vancouver Public Library. We have special events with big names and emerging names. And then we also have some educational components for youth and adults as well. So lots of things happening around this time of the year, but also very compressed in October as well.
How many writers do you think you have each year that you, I don't know, profile?
Amy, that's a great question because I recently had to do a count. So it's kind of fresh in my head. I would say throughout the entire year, I'm thinking it's around 150, but I do know that last year, festival alone, so that 1 week of October, we invited about 130, so 1300
Wow.
authors. Yeah, so it's quite a few people. And eventually, if you work very close with them, you get to know everyone, but at the beginning of every year, I always have this panic, like I'm not going to remember anyone's names, but it happens.
So what is your role then with the Writers Fest?
Right. So I'm the programming coordinator there. So I assist the artistic director, Leslie Hertig, with the programming that we do every year. And one of the things that I really like is just to get to know new authors and authors, who obviously have written for many, many years, but might not have been in my school curriculum or might not be, books that I naturally pick up. So it's always a really good place to find new stories and new books. But I work with Leslie and the rest of the team, and we invite authors. We make sure that their books are here. We make sure that they get programmed into a variety of events and just many hats. But as of right now, we're just researching new books and seeing how this year is going to take shape.
So that means you obviously do a lot of reading too throughout the year to just figure out the who's who and what books you can profile.
Yes, Amy, it's a great job if you love to read. And I always, again, I panic because I just feel like there's so many books and I read very, very slowly. So I do have a backlist that's growing larger and larger. But yeah, we do read. And if we can't finish them all, we read very reliable reviews and blurbs as well.
Okay, because I can't even imagine trying to read 150 books a year. Although I say that because I have very little time to read anything.
True. Mm-hmm.
Karen's book, Karen Carnival's book, who we just profiled on Constance. It probably took me, I don't know, did I have that book for 2 months? Okay. It was a 3-hour audiobook. It took me 2 months to get through. Just because, I wanted to make sure that I was in a place where I could absorb it and not where I was gonna fall asleep. And and not because the book's great, but because of my own capacity, right?
Yeah.
So, but I know that there are lots of folks in this space. Louise is one of them. Christy's one of the avid readers in this space.
Nice.
Time, right?
That's awesome.
So some avid readers. And VocalEye did we were there. There were some community members there at the Literary Cabaret this past October.
Mm-hmm. It was.
As were you? Yeah, I saw you there.
Yes, I mean, I was running back and forth in the back of the room, but it was so great to see. I think VocalEye had a couple of our round tables. So
yes.
So yeah, it was great to have some familiar faces there.
Yeah, it was a spot close to the back, but there's a lot of people in this room because I think it's the Literary Cabaret was one of the most popular events, right?
Yeah, it is, and it often gets sold out, I think, very early on. So I think we were packed, and if I remember correctly, we had ushers who had to bring in just any extra chairs that we had in the venue because again, we just didn't have that much room in the back to put in more tables. I mean, I think somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, you're way in the back," and it's like, well, it wouldn't matter how close I was to the stage, I still wouldn't have been able to see anything. But this is more about an audio experience because authors are reading their books,
There's a musical accompaniment in the background,
Mm-hmm.
and there was enough space there for you to not, like, if I had to leave to use the bathroom, for example, I didn't have to navigate through the myriad of tables
Okay.
to
Yeah.
get to that, and there was some nice room for the guide dogs that were there.
Oh, yes.
That
Yeah.
became really important. Having never been to the space before, we
Right.
probably lucked out with the right type of seating.
Oh, thank you.
But
Okay.
there was, there were four of us from the community, and then there were four or five sighted guides that came with us. So
Mm-hmm.
there were still a good 11 of us at the table.
Yeah.
And it was crunchy. It was pretty tight because it was sold out. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially I think for those who came in late, not your group.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had some folks who came in late and they had to really snake their way in. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They weren't sitting with people that they knew. They had to go find the one lonely chair
Exactly.
at a table with other folks and sneak into that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy, am I glad that we didn't have to do that, to be honest.
Yes.
That we had that reserve sign on our table, and that was the end of it.
Mm-hmm. For
Awesome.
sure.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, what are we going to experience tonight? This is a recording of the Literary Cabaret, but tell us what authors we might experience and what the setup is.
Yeah, for sure. So this night, it's not like some of our other events where we do have more of a conversation or it's a panel talk. This, we kind of get a small introduction from our musical director. Their name is Sally Zori, and you hear some music coming in as well. So the band, the Allegories, they set everything up musically, and then we hear a small introduction of the event, and then there is a short story, we call it a fable, that is written by Rhiannon Collett that Sally Zori is going to tell throughout the night, and that's going to actually help weave all five of the authors into the entire night. So the five authors that we have or had last year was Heather O'Neill from Canada, Graeme Macrae Burnet from Scotland, Gabriel Krauze from the United Kingdom, Pierre Jarawan from Germany of Lebanese descent, and Nadifa Mohamed also from the UK. I think each of their books and the excerpts that they read from those books are so different, and I hope that while we listen to the stories, we can also really kind of appreciate the fact that the scoring of the music is quite, I would say, spot on with some of the environment. And I just wanted to let everyone know that the music was created solely based on reading the books. People didn't talk beforehand or meet beforehand. And when they went to the rehearsal just a couple of hours before the show started that night, I had these authors coming back to me saying, oh my gosh, like, how did they know this was exactly how London sounds like at that time, or how Lebanon sounds like at that time? So I really enjoy it. And I think that if we have any questions or want to know more about the context of these works, I'm more than happy to talk about them a little bit later on tonight. But we have five, usually we have six authors, but we had five this year, and I still think that the night was jam-packed. So yeah, it's about 90 minutes long.
90 minutes long. Yep, that's exactly it. Yep. Okay. Well, friends, anything else, Sarah, that you want to share, or are we ready to rock and roll?
I think we are. I think the audio is pretty good on this video, and I'll just let the authors and Sally and their team take it away.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, Rick, then when you're ready, please hit play on the Literary Cabaret.
Due to copyright restrictions, this feature presentation has not been recorded. Please check below for more information, including links to the material if it is hosted elsewhere.
All right, everyone, we are back. That was the Literary Cabaret from the Vancouver Writers Festival. We've got Sarah back in the space with us. A little bit of storytelling, a little bit of music accompaniment. How do you make a night any better than that? So, Sarah, I wonder if there are any standouts for you in this. You were there on the night of this performance. Any standout stories for you? Any authors?
No, it's I don't have any children, so this kind of feels like asking me to choose between
Ah!
all of my kids that I don't have. It's hard to say. I think I liked each of them, of course, but if I had to choose, I think I would choose Gabriel Krauze's. So I believe he was in the middle of all of that. And I don't know. I think it's just something about like I've been to London many times. Obviously, I haven't lived there or know it inside and out as he does. But there's something about the way that he describes I guess it's called an estate that he lives on, and the way that you kind of hear this almost ambient music in the background, but it's minimalist, but then it shapes what he says very very well, or it's shaped very very well by what he says. And he's a very rhythmic speaker, so
Yeah.
I really like that. But with that said, he's one of those people that I have to listen very, very, very closely to, because not only is there, a London accent there, but there are many words that, I learned a lot. I didn't know many of the words. So yeah.
The UK vernacular, even the word estate. So I watch a lot of Coronation Street. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself. I've been watching it for a long time. But the estate, because I was the way we use the word estate here is like ritzy upper class property.
Right.
Estate in the UK is like the projects.
Right. Yeah, I think it's public housing.
Yeah, tenement housing, public housing.
Yeah.
So when you first hear it, you're like, oh, that doesn't sound right. Who wants to, you're right?
Right.
So it's just about, you're right, about kind of understanding the language a little bit.
Yeah, and I think when you say like our understanding of estate, and he also says that each of the blocks are named out after these very classical writers. It threw me for a loop too, and I'm like, is this a very clear place, or why would they name it that, right? So.
I'm gonna just let our guests in the space know that if they want to share about reflections of this evening, if they have favorite stories, if they were there the night and they want to share what that was about for them, this is your space as well. So I encourage you to use the raise your hand function should you have anything you want to add. Otherwise, Sarah and I are going to keep going on, and then we'll do a prize draw. So we have a hand already. Megan's always first to the draw. So let's go, Megan. Go ahead, Megan.
For me, I like the when he talked about what's his name, Macrae, Burnet.
Graeme, yeah.
The guy he talked about what's it called, Arthur Collins Braithwaite.
Yeah,
that must be extremely was he an actual is there a true story behind Arthur Collins Braithwaite? Was he really a mad kind of psychiatrist or psychotherapist, or what was he? I'm just curious. Like, yeah, I didn't know he studied in. Well, I looked on my phone and about who was Arthur Collins Braithwaite, and it said about Macrae Burnet studying about a psychiatrist and how Dr. Collins Braithwaite was extremely, really terrifying. Why was that? And why was he so bad? Like, what did he do? Was he doing things that were terrible, like black magic, that kind of thing?
Did you read that book, Sarah?
I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but I think in general, for me, psychiatrists, because they have to understand you so well within such a short amount of time, I find that in itself to be very, very scary.
They can manipulate you too.
Exactly, right? And then when Graeme said at the end that the character realized that he has this charisma, in me, I was like,
bending backward. He said he liked to. He had a will to bend backward.
Right, exactly. And like that's kind of a recipe for, like what Amy says, some manipulation.
It can do harm. Yeah.
Like, was he like a very harmful psychiatrist, or?
She's not going to tell us, Megan. She wants us to go read the book. I think you
Okay.
can safely assume that there's a yes in there somewhere.
Okay, I'll Google it with Sela. I'm gonna get one with Sela. I'll put it on my list.
Thank you so much, Megan.
You're welcome.
And
Okay.
we've got a
And
hand.
the one from when you were talking about like Wentworth Street and all that stuff. I thought that's really, I've never even been on those play. I don't think I've been to London before. I didn't really notice the names of streets, but I like his accent. But he had a bit of a Jamaican accent as well. You know what I mean?
I think Graeme is from Glasgow. I think that's what he told me. So I think he had the Glaswegian accent.
Oh.
But yeah.
Okay. I like a little bit of London, a little bit of Glaswegian, right?
Yeah. He wrote the story. Yeah, he like the story I believe is set in London. But yeah, but he has I believe a Scottish / Glaswegian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan. Okay, Rita, you're up, my friend. We'll just give Rita a moment to unmute. I think we got you, Rita. But we can't hear you. Well, Rita's icon shows that she's unmuted, but we cannot hear Rita. So we'll give it a moment, and maybe any moment Rita will jump on in and interrupt us. But we'll keep going, and maybe the VocalEye team can help sort out some tech stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got so Sarah, did you read all of these books for all 5 of these artists?
I didn't read them all before the show, but I finished a couple of them, and then I finished a couple more after. But yeah, so for the show, there were a couple of folks whose stories were quite new to me. I knew all of this synopsis, and even when you read like all of them, right, like it's very interesting which sections that the author would choose. I think they have a very stressful job to try to like compress a story into just a few pages to read.
Yeah, and some of them seem to have been like there were pauses in the middle, so they would start with one excerpt and then read another excerpt, and it kind of felt like they kind of seamlessly lined up, which is a talent all on its own to be able to pick excerpts that do that well.
Right. Yeah. I think a couple of the books also, like the structure of the narrative jumps through time. So yeah. So I think a couple of them did have to choose places in the book that were physically quite far apart. But yeah, I totally agree. It seemed quite seamless. Yeah.
And do you happen to know if any of these books are available in an audio format?
Yes. So I do. I think all of them are, with the exception, sadly, of Pierre Jarawan's. The only ones for him that are available are in German, and I think one is in Spanish. So if anyone can understand those languages, I'm more than happy to provide a link. But everything else in English for all of the 4 other authors we have, I think most of them are on Sela, and all of them are on other apps like Apple iBooks or Audible. So it depends on what everyone likes to use.
So you have some links that we can send out afterwards to some of those platforms. So that's awesome news.
Yes.
Oh, and we've got a hand from Louise, one of our avid readers in the space. Well, we got you. Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. All stories. All hands lowered. I hear my voiceover say something, and I'm sorry. No, all stories were good, but I think the one that really caught my eye, I was the first one. Because what?
Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying the author's name is Heather O'Neill. I think you said the first.
Heather O'Neill.
Yeah, Heather. I like the fact that it left you wondering what that teenager was going to be like, or kid was going to be like.
Right.
It really and I've always enjoyed stories. I've loved them all in different ways. But that one just took my heart. It's like, okay, yeah, she did funerals for animals, but she didn't care what she wrote. She didn't care what she said. It wasn't truly from her heart. Thinking, what else does this girl get into, or young lady, as she grows? You know, it's the one I'm going to pick up and try and read. I hope it's on CELA, because that's the one I'm going to really want to go read.
Yes.
Did you get like a Wednesday Addams kind of vibe from the Addams Family? Louise, do you know?
No, I didn't watch Addams Family. I never watched it.
Wednesday Addams was a bit of a disturbed preteen teen girl, so I kind of got a Wednesday Addams vibe.
You know, because I guess I know kids. I've had 3 of my own. Yes, my kids were not disturbed like that, but what I'm saying is, you know, what they could have been if they didn't have the right influence or the right kind of situation. So it just, you know, it hit me in a way like nothing was pleasing her.
Right. Like, will somebody intervene in her life and change things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to read it to find out.
Well,
I mean, the other ones I might go look at and consider, you know, but that one's the one that really caught my heart.
Sarah, do you happen to know if each of these authors narrate the audiobooks of their work?
Yes, so I have that information right here in front of me. I'm just gonna look at Heather's first for Louise. And Louise, it's not, the audiobook for Heather O'Neill is not narrated by the author. It is narrated by a voice actress though. So, okay. Yeah, so hopefully that, you know, is very...
Yeah, I don't always worry about the author reading a book, but, you know, yeah, you know, sometimes, yes, you would love that, but no, I read a lot of books, so...
Best narrator for the job, right, Louise?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. I want a story told that I'm going to keep my heart into my... Yeah. I listen, I'm doing housework and I'm listening to a book. I'm doing anything. I'm a book fanatic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Well, if you get a chance to read it, you'll have to share with us what you think about it.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you, Sarah, for being here tonight to share this wonderful experience.
Oh, thank you. And if I could just add one more thing, I don't want to ruin the book, but you will be in for a surprise. If you like this little girl, you might hear about another one too.
Okay. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, you really got me going now. Thank you.
Me too. I love it. Just enough of a teaser.
Yeah, just enough of a teaser. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. Okay, we've got Rita back. Let's see if we can hear Rita.
Well, I got on the cell phone this time. I couldn't make it work on the computer, but
we got you now
on the computer, but I couldn't make it. Anyway, so okay, I was going to say I was really moved by the last 2. The one about Beirut, that was just incredible, and how the fact that his parents were killed in an ordinary car accident made him feel, you know, completely out of it in terms of the all the other people that, you know, who had people that were lost and they couldn't find and stuff like that because of all the stuff that's been happening. That was really moving. Mm-hmm. And I also really liked the last one, the one in Cardiff and the different you know, immigrants that were working there and all their experiences. So it was really good. All of them were good, but just those last 2 really moved me.
Thank you so much.
Rita, what did you think of the diversity of authors? Like, you know, there was kind of this through line with this fable, Sarah, that you were telling us. It was kind of weaving the stories together, but all of the stories were so different from each other.
They were, yeah, they were. And that was nice because you get, but I don't know who organized this particular, you know, conjunction of these 5 authors, but, you know, it was good because you got to experience all these different types of things. Mm-hmm. So, and you were right, I was confused about the estate business as well at the beginning. So until I realized that it was like, you know, my God.
Not necessarily a place you want to grow up in.
No, no,
Not many do.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean,
Anyway.
perhaps, if we get to take a group of folks down again this year, this October, that Rita, you might want to come join us and do the in-person experience. Sarah,
Yeah.
so who chose this lineup of writers?
Yeah, so every year artistic director Leslie Hurtig will make this group, and I think what she really looks for, it's not just like, of course, the books, the stories are going to be very exciting and very well written, but particularly for this event, we're looking for authors who can read, right? Who can give a performance. I think there are lots of authors who are brilliant in writing, but they might not feel as comfortable on a stage. Some are very, very cerebral, and some really like to just have a dialogue. So I think for each of these authors, Leslie would, either know their work personally or have seen them perform in some other respect, or she'll go on to view some of their other clips, and then when you see an author that really has that stage presence, you kind of just know. And then and then she asks if they're interested, and if they are, then these books will then get to the hands of Sally Zori, the musical director. And I think a lot of this weaving together, they do even better. So it seems like a very cohesive night. But yeah.
And do you know anything about the process of the band itself and how they were creating the musical backings for these stories? Do you know anything about that process?
I know about from our perspective. So what happens is, like, we send them the books sometime in like mid to late July, so they get a chance to read everything. And I'm just guessing they're geniuses because they can read this, and then they could possibly hear a tune or hear a motif. I don't know if anyone here tonight joined us last year when we had the year before, so 2021's Lit Cab here. And it was by the same group band, and Sally Zori led that as well. But one example there that I feel like Sally Zori was a little bit different than creating the songs for everybody else. If you remember, Krista Couture came and performed her book, and the music that was playing behind, I only realized after I went to Krista's own website, that was her song. So they played a song that she wrote, and it was in the background. So sometimes if you have a multi-talented author like that, then you would have some material musically to already work with. Whereas the group would just meet, I'm guessing, in July and August to really write the score out and get a cohesive feel for the books, and then that's it. And then they're in email contact with authors here and there, but nobody really gets a group feel until a couple of hours before Lit Cab actually happens on that night. That's when everyone meets. So it happens very, very fast. There's just one rehearsal in the afternoon, and then everything just comes together. So that's all I know, but I'm sure there's a lot more brain power that goes into it than I can just describe.
That seems to be very similar to how I hear other like cabaret style things put together. Often it's like, there's 10 performers and they all do their own thing, and then they come together and do kind of like a tech rehearsal, and then because it's meant to be kind of informal and low-key and casual and that kind of thing, so we don't stress too much about the polish of everything. Which is kind of the beauty of cabaret and storytelling in that way. Do you know if the musicians know what excerpts from the book? Like, do they have that information? Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the key jobs that I have to make sure gets done, that the excerpts are chosen by the authors, and we get that to the band and Sally in time. They get the whole book, of course.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, some parts are very, very distinct, right? So yes, they do get the excerpts.
And this year was the first year that you did the fable. Or have you done
Yeah.
that before?
Yeah, we this year it was called a fable, and last year there was also a story, but I think it was more of like a poem. It was more poetic, and it was actually written by somebody who was part of VocalEye as well as a playwright. So all around faces that we get to see again. So it's amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are there any teasers for what we can expect this year at the Lit
Well,
Cab this October?
that's a great question because we're just getting started, and you know, we're seeing, you know, some more pitches soon, and Leslie and I are doing some research beforehand as well. I can tell you only that we'll have 6 authors again. I don't know if everybody caught that part where Joshua Whitehead, who was our 6th author, just couldn't make it. So we'll have the full house again. But as to who's actually going to be part of the like Leslie and I wouldn't know until maybe June-ish.
Right.
So yeah, so we do hope that we'll have some Canadian folks and then some international folks as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I you know, want to extend a thank you to the Writers Fest because they generously, that's the word I'm looking for, generously offered some tickets at kind of a sliding scale rate, which was lovely because tickets are like $50 for this.
Yeah, for this one.
So we you know, we asked folks to pay what they could afford for tickets, and it was lovely. I mean, it was really nice to be able to have that offer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I want to say a big thank you to the Writers Fest, and also that seats were limited because of the generosity of this. Right, it's a sold out event.
Right.
They didn't need to be put in a position where they were either donating or selling tickets at a low barrier cost to benefit our community, but wanted to make this as accessible as possible for our community members. And then I got a chance to go to the brunch on the following Sunday, which was very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, but didn't have the musical accompaniment, but it had, I think it was 6 authors reading their stories while we all, you know, drank mimosas or virgin mimosas, as you might choose to do that, orange juice, and had like a scone at tables with strangers, and it was kind of a lovely little event as well. So
that's nice to hear because Amy, I've never been to the brunch myself, so you know a lot more than I do. So that's amazing to hear. And I did not know we had virgin mimosas, aka orange juice as well.
I didn't know either at first, and somebody handed me a mimosa, and I was like, it's a little early for me to be drinking. But for some people, it's great. And then somebody else said, "Oh, well, you know that they have like non-alcoholic ones." I'm like, no, nobody told me, but okay, I'll take it. So so you know, sometimes you just gotta ask a little bit. But it was a lovely sort of you know, the Lit Cabaret happens in the evening, obviously, and this happened sort of like 11ish, 10:30, 11ish. So that was a really nice treat to be a part of. And I actually had signed up for a bunch of sort of things that were happening around Granville Island through that time in October, but I got sick, so I wasn't feeling, not like COVID sick, but just was feeling, I would say, digestive sick, tummy trouble sick, right? And so I was just like, I think I need to stay close to home and not push it too hard. So I missed out on a few things. So maybe this year I'll be able to get out and experience some other stuff, as I hope other folks in our community who are local will be able to take advantage of that, and folks who are from other parts of the province, the country, or outside of the country, we can bring this right here to the platform, which is lovely.
Thank you so much.
I'm really excited to see what's next with the Writers Fest. But before we say goodnight to you, Sarah, and thank you for all of your sharing this evening, I have a prize draw. We got a prize draw.
Yes,
want to do a prize draw?
Of course.
Of course. Let's bring Lindsay into the space. Because Lindsay has got all the names of our eligible folks, and you're eligible whether you live locally or not. And our prize draw tonight is it's a mystery swag package from the Vancouver Writers Festival. So thank you again to the Writers Festival for making that donation. Okay, Sarah, Lindsay, I put you in each other's hands to do the draw.
Can you guys hear and see me?
Yes.
Here ya.
Can.
Okay, I don't know why my video is not working, but
No, I mean, there's a video on, but
Oh,
not
yeah,
every.
we see you.
If you can see, Lindsay has a camera on. If you don't see, then we don't see you.
okay, great. Okay, well, I've got the names in the bag, so Sarah, you just tell me when.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm really inspired by the question that Megan asked. So my I guess my word here is going to be Collins Braithwaite.
Collins Braithwaite. That's 2 words, but we'll give it.
Okay.
We'll give it to you.
Collins Braithwaite.
I've got Maria C.
Maria Cucci. Wonderful. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Awesome. So Maria will connect with you, and either Sarah will be able to drop it off because you're local, or we'll pop it in the mail. We'll get it to you somehow, which is wonderful. Awesome. Well, Sarah, I mean, thank you again so much for joining us in the space. It was a really nice revisit for me, and I will say, in particular, because the with a couple of those accents in the room that night, I was having a little bit of trouble making it out. So having the second listen and to be able to like adjust my volume and get really close to my speakers made a big difference for me. And not having the noise of the crowd, right? Because sometimes people are moving around and that kind of atmosphere. And so you're like, oh no, I want to hear this. Please don't shuffle past me to the bathroom. So I was really happy to be able to revisit some of that.
Thank you. It means a lot to us, and I would love to let the team know. I mean, I couldn't stay for the whole time either. So hearing this is really, really great. It makes me feel like I was in the room. But thank you all. I really appreciate it. And thank you.
My only thought would be, and I shared this with Kylie on the night, which is because there was a written program, which obviously those of us who couldn't read the print didn't have access to that, with like artists' bios or but knowing like the diversity of these artists would have been a really nice touch. And of course, at the top of this, I always joke, and I joked with Kylie in the space when Sally says, "Can everybody see me?" No. No, that's a little bit overdone. And some of us in the community are like, oh my gosh, again? No. We've heard this a lot. But otherwise, we had a fantastic night.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to note, for those who want to have the extra links after the show, you will get the bios and blurbs of the authors and their books. Yeah, just for a little bit more contact.
I think that's a lovely gift. So thank you for doing all that legwork and sharing those resources with us.
Thank you, Amy.
VocalEye, vocaleye.ca. Special thanks to our funders, the Canada Council for the Arts, the British Columbia Arts Council, the Province of British Columbia, and the City of Vancouver.